Have you ever felt that something in you is present even when you are not? That your absence weighs more than the presence of other men? Here is layered, and what you are about to listen is not theory, it is initiation. In this video of the Gods of Semen channel, we will unveil a spiritual secret that few men know, the invisible power of seminal retention that touches a woman's body and soul, even without physical contact. While so many lose their essence on empty impulses, the few that retain arouse an ancestral magnetism that crosses space, time, and the senses. This is a call to men who no longer agree to live on autopilot, enslaved by desires that drain them, anxious, empty, and disconnected from their purpose. What you will understand today unites energy science, spiritual wisdom, and archetypal psychology to reveal how women feel yourself at a distance, in dreams, chills, mind, and womb. Not because you played it, but because you have become untouchable. Each part of this video is a hidden key that can transform your energy, focus, and mission. Then stay until the end. This channel is for those who have awakened or wish to awaken, and we are towards the 25,000 initiates who have chosen to reactivate their primordial strength. Subscribe now, activate the bell, and become part of this brotherhood that is rescuing true male power on Earth. There is a type of presence that does not depend on the body, a silent force that does not need words, gestures, or physical contact. The man in retention carries in himself an accumulated energy that overflows beyond the skin, a kind of invisible, alive field that touches everything around him without ever being seen. This magnetic field is created by the concentration of vital energy that is not wasted. The semen, when retained, is no longer only biology and becomes a spiritual generator. It forms a dense, hot, and subtly unsettling aura, a real electromagnetic field that changes the perception of those nearby. This force acts as a vibrational signature. It is not aggressive, it is not invasive, but it is undeniable. Who is attentive, feels. This subtle radiation mainly affects the female body, not by chance. The woman was biologically designed for the reception of life, touch, energy. Its neuroendocrine system responds more intensely to invisible stimuli, especially in times of greater hormonal opening, such as the fertile cycle or deep sleep. Its sensory field is thinner, more intuitive, and more vulnerable to unconscious magnetism. Recent studies show that the body of women, in a state of rest or latent arousal, issues body responses to energy fields generated by other human bodies. This phenomenon intensifies when the energy source is masculine, concentrated, and emotionally charged. She may not understand, you may not even know why, but feels. And the most impactful, this touch happens without playing. It is the invisible touch. The woman feels the presence of the man who keeps her seed, even if he is far away, even if they have not been said. There are impressive reports of women who have experienced dreams, goosebumps, or mood swings just because they are in the same environment as a man in retention. In many of these cases, there was no exchange of looks, no conversation, no clear intention, only presence, vibrational presence. Retention sows in the invisible, and this seed generates subtle reactions in the female. She feels crossed by something she can't name, something that concerns her, which calls her, that moves her. The invisible touch is real, and he is born of the man who learned to contain to overflow. The moment she sleeps is not a break, it's a portal. During sleep, especially in the REM phase, the female brain goes into a state of deep emotional receptivity. Logic barriers dissolve, and the language of the body gives way to symbolic images, the flow of the unconscious, to unlawful sensations. It is in this mysterious territory that retained male energy finds passage. Without needing an invitation, without knocking on the door, she crosses the veils and reaches the subtle field of the dream. A woman's rational mind may not recognize, but her spirit feels. The vibration of the elevated masculine, the one who is dominated, who guard, rises, becomes a whisper inside her room, a heat that dances around her sleeping uterus. Retention does not only act on the physical plane. When semen is conserved, it becomes a spiritual fuel. He goes up, he pulsates at other frequencies. He moves away from instinct and approaches the invisible. This is why many men in deep retention report vivid dreams, spiritual insights, and sensations of connection with specific women, even at a distance. Transmuted sexual energy breaks the limitations of time and space, reaching the collective unconscious. and the feminine by nature, is more attuned to this subtle plan. When she sleeps, when her body is at rest and her emotional defenses dissolve, the magnetic field of the man who plays her without touching finds her way. It is in this scenario that the silent messages of the male soul are received as dreams, symbols, and sensations. There are women who wake up with the name of a man in mind without ever talking to him. Others repeatedly dream of male figures that look more like archetypes than real people. And there are also those who have intense experiences during sleep, erotic dreams, sensations of presence, touches that came from no one. These dreams are real. They are symbolic translations of an energy that touched them spiritually. In many cases, it is the influence of a man on deep retention, a man whose energy crossed layers of the psyche and planted a subtle presence there. It is not manipulation. It is not carnal intention. It is the silent call of the high masculine, a call that only the dream can hear, and that only her heart can answer. Long before the mind formulates thoughts, the body feels. And in the woman's body, there is a point that responds faster than any other: the womb. More than a physical organ, the uterus is an ancestral energy center, guardian of memories, emotions, and spiritual codes. The old traditions knew the uterus is a vibrational mirror. He captures what the conscious ignores. He pulsates when something sacred approaches. When a man in retention crosses a woman's field, it is her uterus she first realizes. A subtle contraction, an inexplicable heat, an internal movement that she does not know how to name. Her body is being touched by an invisible frequency and responds without asking permission. These answers often emerge as strange symptoms: chills for no reason, skin goosebumps when he enters the room, an involuntary look, a sigh that she herself does not understand. There are women who report real physical sensations when thinking of someone with whom they have never had intimacy. The uterus vibrates, the belly warms, the body prepares. But why? Because he was marked. Because the energy of the man who keeps his essence leaves an impression, even in the absence. It is as if her body is responding to a subtle, old, essential call. A code was activated, even if it does not know when or how. This phenomenon intensifies when there has been previous physical contact. Even soon, even without emotional depth, the man who keeps his seed leaves a seal, a type of energy impression on the subtle body of the woman. It is not remembered only by the mind. It is felt by the womb. His energy is imprinted on his field as a slow fire-recorded symbol. She may not think of him every day, but it is enough for him to enter the same environment and something inside it wakes up. This is the seal of retention, the cellular memory of the unpaid male. While the others go out with time, the man who retains remains. He inhabits the unconscious of the female body as a puzzle, a present absence, a force that does not need to announce itself. And that's why even without understanding, her body continues to respond. If you are ready to abandon the warm life of apathy, distraction, and weakness, the Stored Sex ebook, The Code of Raw Male Energy, is its first rite of passage, a work with more than 170 pages divided into 8 complete modules that reveal, step by step, how to master their sexual energy, transmute his gross desire into spiritual strength, and reborn as a conscious, centered man. Each chapter is a call, with activation phrases, sacred practices, and seminal retention rituals that restore what the modern world has tried to erase: its inner power, its unbreakable focus, and its leadership call. This is not just a book. It is an initiatic structure designed for those who refuse to live in the shadow of themselves. Click now on the description link or the fixed comment and guarantee your copy. The first 10 buyers will receive an exclusive promotion. In women, desire does not start in mind. It is planted in the body. First, she feels. Then she tries to understand. But it doesn't always succeed. When the uterus pulsates, when the skin creeps, when dreams repeat a face or a presence it barely knows, the mind begins to seek explanations. It is at this moment that desire begins to be born, not as a result of logic, but as a reflection of something that touched it without playing. The man who holds his activation in it, a curiosity that is not justified, a heat that comes from the inside out, an emotional restlessness that cannot be explained by attitudes, words, or history. Her body becomes the messenger of an ancestral desire, a desire with no apparent cause, without rational permission. This process generates a hidden pattern. She thinks of him not knowing why. He did not send a message, it didn't flirt, did not expose interest. And yet, His image comes back, his presence weighs, his memory remains. Sometimes she saw him only once, others, not even that, but something was. Something that is not forgettable. This something is not appearance, no attitude. It is vibration, the vibration of the man who keeps, who silences, overflowing without drafting. He remains where the others evaporate. He echoes where the others go out. Because what he left in it was not a memory. It was an energetic impression, and that doesn't go out over time. This sedates, it grows, and one day, explode in the form of desire. This masculine archetype that retains creates such a striking presence that she herself is scared. He becomes the man she can't forget, even if there has never been a story, even if there is no logic for that. It represents something that her body identified as different, rare, essential. He is the silence that screams, the absence that weighs, the figure that returns in times of emptiness, in dreams, fertile cycles, unconscious decisions, and no matter how many come later. Those who gave everything, who sought to please, who offered themselves disappear over time. But he, what he retained, which he overflowed without touching, which fell silent with intensity, he remains, because her body has already chosen him. And when the body chooses before the mind, there is no possible forgetfulness. There is something in man in retention that differentiates him at first glance. And that's not what he says, but what he doesn't have to say. Your presence has weight. Your silence has shape. Your look has density. The energy it carries does not escape impulsive acts. It is not lost in distractions. It accumulates. And the more concentrated, the more powerful it becomes. This man walks differently, occupies the space with another posture. There is something in it that bothers, that attracts, that imposes respect even without intention. He is a living sign that he dominates his impulses. And that, for the female body, is irresistible, because it represents security, power, and mystery at the same time. He is the opposite of the ordinary man, one who gives himself to desire and disappears soon after. The man in retention remains. This living energy generates visceral reactions in women, especially when it does not offer direct attention. It is in this vacuum, in this absence of validation, that the female unconscious comes on alert. She begins to observe, to test, provoke it, sometimes subtly, sometimes with unexpected intensity, and neither does she understand why. She is jealous of something she does not have. It is up to women that he doesn't even look, creates stories, fantasies, silent conflicts, all to decipher the presence that disturbs her. And if he remains firm, centered, without responding to temptation, she dives even deeper. The absence of touch turns into absolute presence, because what is denied to the body gains strength within the mind. And then the supreme paradox happens. She wants more the one who never touched her, what never said come, which never begged for presence, what never ran after. This man touched her otherwise, a way that words do not reach. He touched his soul. He printed himself at his frequency. He generated an internal movement that no explicit gesture could ever provoke. This is the secret of retention. It is not abstinence, it is transmutation. It is not about not giving, it is about giving up in a superior way. The man who keeps his seed is keeping more than fluids, is cultivating an aura. And this aura is felt, desired, and sometimes even feared, because it reveals a level of masculinity that the world no longer recognizes, but that every woman in silence still seeks. Not every woman reacts with enchantment to the presence of a man in retention. Sometimes what she feels is discomfort, not because he injured her, but because he shows her. The energy of a man who transcends his impulses not only activates desire, it also lights the shadows. The wounded feminine, the one who carries sorrows, abandonment, trauma, and poorly resolved bonds, reacts instinctively to this powerful presence. For before the light, everything that is hidden becomes visible, and when a man carries internal light, he exposes what she herself didn't want to see. This is why often the woman's first reaction is defensive. She walks away, gets annoyed, ironizes, or tries to reduce your presence to something common. But deep down, she is being touched where she hurts the most, where she was never seen with purity. This reaction is confused, because her body wants but the ego resists. The woman's energy field comes into a silent war. She can try to push him coldly, test him with emotional games, or provoke him with contradictory innuendo. None of this is rational. It is an unconscious attempt to deal with the disturbance it causes in its internal structure. The energy of retention is too intense for the injured ego, and what she doesn't understand, she tries to sabotage. She projects, accuses, deconstructs. But the more it does, the more deeply you turn on. The presence of man who contains without repressing creates a kind of tension that reveals everything that still needs to be healed. He's the mirror she didn't ask for, but she needed to. Over time, something changes. When she realizes that he does not react to his sabotage, that he does not bow to his provocations, which remains firm, centered, whole, she begins to see. And what you see transforms it, because then she understands. He is not just a man. He is a transition point. He represents what it could be if he surrendered to healing. And at that moment, the desire deepens, no more by sex, or validation, or romance, but for liberation. She feels she needs him to change, even without words, and that feeling disconcerted it. It approaches cautiously, with fear, with mixed desire and fear, because before a man who is kept, he recognizes the call of healing himself, and you can't pretend you didn't feel. The book Alchemy of the Gods is not just a reading, it is a portal of spiritual activation, a sacred map for the man who feels that there is something dormant within himself by crying out for awakening. In this initiatory work, I reveal hidden codes on the rise of Kundalini, the serpentine fire that tears the layers of the ego, about the crystalline oil, the sacred oil that rises through the spine and illuminates the mind, and about true spiritual liberation, which breaks internal prisons and reconnects you with your divine self. Available in physical, digital, and audiobook, Alchemy of the Gods is accessible to all men on the journey, offering a ritual and symbolic structure for the reconstruction of male identity from the sacred. The link is in the description and fixed comment. Go now and start its activation. But first of all, I have a novelty that you did not expect. Audio Libro Semen Retention Success Path has just been released, with more than 2 hours of deep and revealing content about the 6 most transformative pillars of seminal retention, presented as the definitive key to restore your focus, your strength, and unlock the divine man you were born to be. What's more, when purchasing audiobook now, you get 30% off the ebook The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with more than 20 practical pages about spiritual evolution, emotional balance, and reunion with your life purpose. Also, take the opportunity to become a member of the Gods of Semen channel and have early access to unpublished content, priority answers in the comments, and be part directly from the mission that is rescuing thousands of men from forgetting themselves. Their presence keeps this work alive and expands this truth to those who need it most. Sexual energy, when transmuted, is no longer impulse and becomes language. The man who keeps his seed and raises it transforms brute desire into spiritual vibration, a force that does not need touch to be felt. The semen, which would once be released and forgotten, now climbs. It runs through the internal channels, refines the body, warms the heart, and becomes presence. This presence has magnetism. She emanates from the look, from silence, posture, breathing, and more than anything, it affects the female sensory field. The woman feels when this energy is present. Your body captures, responds, vibrates, not because he seduced her, but because he became seductive unintentionally. Retention makes him vibrate at another frequency, and this frequency resonates with her body. This subtle touch does not require contact. He doesn't need words. It happens in a moment of silence, when it is only. Suddenly, she feels warm in her womb. A shiver rises through the column. An inexplicable desire takes the body, and she can't find the origin. There was no gesture. There was no proposal. But something about it was touched. The energy of the transmuted man plays from the inside out. He does not have it, he active. Its presence is a spark that lights what was erased in it. And she feels as if your body is in a state of readiness, as if the uterus knew before her that something is sacred, something that awakens, warms, transforms. And when this touch becomes constant, even without words, even without clear intention, something greater forms. An alchemy, an invisible union begins to happen between the two. There is no kiss, there is no bed, there is no confession, but there is shared vibration. He sends, she receives. It contains, it opens, It is a body without body, a fusion without gesture, a spiritual act that transforms both without touching the skin. And in this silent alchemy, something is reprogrammed inside it. The wounds move, the defenses give in, cells begin to record a new frequency of masculinity. It changes, not knowing why, but feeling that something inside her was marked. For when man does not seek to possess but transcend, he gives women the greatest gift, the activation of the sacred feminine. The woman feels when a man is aligned with something bigger, even without understanding, even without proof, she presents. There is a different vibration around it. He is not lost. He does not seek validation. He is not looking for distractions. He walks with purpose, and it is this purpose that touches it, more than the body, more than the face, more than any word. When a man activates his inner mission and decides to live with mastery, retention, and transcendence, his energy is no longer chaotic. It organizes itself. It emanates consistency, direction, presence, and the woman, however wounded, feels that. It is not he who calls her. It is his mission that attracts her, because in a world of fragmented men, an entire man becomes a threat, and at the same time a hope. But there is a common mistake, thinking that it is fate. She is not. She is just a reflection, a sign on the way, a temporary mirror that responds to his light. The woman reacts to male energy as the moon reflects the sun, but she is not the sun. The true path of man is not to conquer it, nor to shape it or depend on it. It is illuminating yourself until your own presence is sufficient, until your own mission is the source of pleasure, focus, and meaning. When he understands that, she changes, because it no longer feels lack, expectation, or desire for control, and it feels stability, transcendence, ground. It becomes unattainable, not because it rejects it, but because it is too busy being whole. And this is where she begins to surrender. Female surrender does not come by imposition, nor by seduction. It happens when the male leads with presence, when he remains, when he positions himself not as a predator, but as a pillar. The awakened woman surrenders to this, not with fear, but with fascination. She recognizes that there is a man who does not pursue her, does not manipulate her, is not lost in her, but that is therefore impossible to forget. The man who keeps his energy becomes the center of a gravitational field. He does not force, he attracts. It does not require, he reveals. It does not beg, he rises. And as he raised, he invites respect, desire, healing, delivery. And she, feeling safe in this presence, cannot resist. Because deep down, every woman wants to be touched, not by the hand, but by the living mission of an awake man. If she feels silently, even at a distance, even without ever being touched, then the question that echoes is, why do you still live as if it were invisible? Perhaps the world has made you forget that your energy has shape, has weight, has presence. But now you know that retention is not about containing. It is about radiating what is pure and powerful in you. The truth is that every day you are marking someone, with your absence or with your vibrant presence. The only choice that remains is, will you remain an empty body, or will become a living male portal? If it touched you, this learning with a like seals. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. This is not just content, it is initiation. And now, watch the next recommended video. There is the next key to what you were born to become.